Okay, I've got 5 o'clock. So I'd like to call the workshop with the discussion of the preliminary budget and levy to order. And online, we have Manager Stovering, Manager Crafton, and Manager Duval. And here at the office, we have Manager Nelson and myself. And I think at the very beginning, you've all received a lot of information from Terry about how to go about looking at the budget and the levy this year. So I would like to turn this over to Terry to discuss what our options are on what we'll do. So Terry.
President Pedersen, managers, I will share my screen and we'll go through it. So at the June 17th meeting, we went through the budget and levy, and at that time you had asked me to look at a few scenarios, different scenarios of how we could how we could move forward and keep the levy at a minimum. So I looked at different methods to perhaps reduce the budget. I looked at methods to reduce the levy, and I'm going to present those to you tonight. At the same time, there was also a discussion about, President Pedersen, you and I had talked about perhaps a 12% increase in health insurance, so that was added in. There was talk about the Spring Road parcel and architectural services that was included in it. So we'll go through all that. We'll go through some of the things. You did also get a report. Please look at that more in terms of rationale for each of these. Manager Duval and myself had a conversation earlier today. Looks like I've transposed some numbers. I did draft another version of it that will be coming out, but the end budget in that report are the numbers. So there are certain sections that got dropped out and get included in. So if you try and add all the numbers in the body of the report and look at the spreadsheet at the end, it won't match. So we'll clear that up and get that out for you. But with that said, let's begin. Or let's not begin. Come on. All right. So first, I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to go through some of this we've talked about before, but I think it's good, and especially for people in the audience looking at it. What are the things that we are planning for 2027? And I did the budget with the intent of being able to fund all of the things we've got going on. And I think it's also important to look at where we've been and that we're at the end of this 10-year plan and moving into our next 10-year plan cycle. We're completing it, finishing out this 10 years. So we're going to complete the 10-year plan this year. Hopefully by July of next year, we'll have our next 10-year plan in place. But we also did things like we looked at utilizing a systems approach to lake management rather than what we had been doing in the past, is we're really just treatment of aquatic invasive species. Now look at the entire lake shed and add the cross-section of the lake and how that's going to go. So that's finishing up. I talked to Joe a little bit ago. We should be getting a draft report soon, if not already. We will continue the cost share. We are looking at, through the steering committee meeting, we've had specific requests from cities. If you remember I don't even remember what it was, but the city of Eden Prairie came in and talked about their campus and about the chloride design and asked if that would be eligible for cost share. So there's $100,000 in the cost share program for that. And then the focused engagement on the audiences that we're working with Smith Partners and Kosar Mohammedan. That's in there in the planning and outreach. Data collecting, continue our program that we're doing, but revising the CRAS to align with the hydrogeomorphic approach. Which will have a cascade effect. It will affect how we prioritize projects. It will affect stream reaches that we do. Ones that may have scored higher may not score quite as high this time, and vice versa. We want to develop a chloride monitoring program and a way to help the cities out with their chloride reduction. I think we are starting to get to 20% of the 80-20 rule with cities. So I think we'll have to start turning our focus to the commercial properties and to homeowners associations. We want to get the shallow groundwater monitoring wells in and look at the groundwater surface water interaction. We're going to take a more targeted approach, opposed to what we had originally planned to do, which was to mirror the original 1970s, 1980s array of wells, which were spread throughout the district. We want to take a more targeted approach and really see within a specific watershed, probably one of the ones that we've done the lake management on, what's going on in there. We want to evaluate research opportunities on the Spring Road property and other partnership opportunities on the Spring Road project, and then continue our lake vegetation management program. We've brought a lot of the point intercept surveys in-house. We're doing a lot more in-house. And so we'll see how that goes moving forward. Other items, we need to complete the district hydrologic and hydraulic modeling for risk assessment, floodplain risk assessment. We want to start revising the regulatory program. That will occur later in 27 after the plan is done. Continue the wetland assessment and identify high priority areas. This section also includes the our soil health program that we've begun. And then really we know that we need to do additional BMP monitoring. We're not really following up on all of the private BMPs that are put in, but that requires additional staffing. That's a big heavy lift. Capital projects that we want to do or will be changed. Riley, we want to complete the Upper Riley Creek stabilization project. This one's key because without it, makes any of the in-lake work on Lake Susan, I wouldn't say meaningless, but not as beneficial. So we really need, and we know that Upper Riley Creek will address the entire load allocation, reduction in load allocation necessary. We want to complete the Lake Susan and Lake phosphorus treatment. Complete the same thing in Lake Susan Park Reserve. So those would be 2 alum treatments. Those would probably occur late in the fall of 27 after we get the other projects done. And then begin restoration on the Spring Road site. So the money that's set aside right now from the Spring Road site is to pay our part of a cost share with the South Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council. Hennepin County is applying, and we are a partner with Hennepin County on that. In fact, in 2 weeks, we will be meeting with Eden Prairie on site at their restoration project to begin looking at seed harvesting that we can collect for the Spring Road property.
Is that something that Dan Shaw would be involved in?
Dan Shaw is going to be there, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then cover the debt service on the bond and taxes on the Spring Road. Although taxes are not going to be necessary, we did apply, we being Lewis, thank you, did apply for the exemption from that for that property. We have not yet received official word that it is not subject to those, but it seems a likely candidate. Purgatory Creek, complete the design of the North Lotus Lake Stormwater Park. Met this morning with the design team. They're nearing 60% plan completion. So we are moving along well there. Next month, I'll be hopefully meeting with Chanhassen Council to get their blessing on it. But we're haggling on numbers, of course. And then begin construction on that in fall 27 into 28. And then repair of the Purgatory Creek Rec Area berm. Met with Patrick Sikora from the City of Eden Prairie yesterday to discuss it further. Shauna Capron and myself met with them a couple weeks ago. They are moving forward, finishing up the design, so that should be ready to go in 27. They will take the lead on the project. That was the big thing. We didn't have capacity to take on that project. And then Upper Bluff Creek, as I talked about with the CRAS update and with our current project stacking on top of one another, pushing Bluff Creek out until at least 2028 and see what the CRAS says if it still scores as high as a project. If any of you have been in the lower Bluff Creek area, the TMDL that was done there in 2015 identifies 19 near source erosion areas between escarpments and near source gullies. So I suspect our focus will go down there, especially with Bluff Creek Golf Course, likely to start looking at redevelopment. So. All right, so since the June 17th there have been a couple of significant changes to this. I increased the budget by almost $750,000 for these reasons. One, assumed benefit increase from 11, instead of 11% that was in the budget we last saw, to 12%. That's based on a conversation President Pedersen had with her associates that are still in the human resources world. Added $75,000 for architectural services on the Springfield Conservation Project. And then we got the plans from Eden Prairie for what they were going to do for that private culvert. And so I increased that fund by $500,000 to cover the cost of that. We're still going to be fine though. Bottom line, it's ugly if you look at it just like this. So now instead of the 8.3, I think, what was it? There it was. Well, yeah, about 8 million that it was before. It's 8.77 with a levy of just sitting like this at 6.5 million. We don't need to do that. So we'll get to how we won't have to do this. Tiny numbers, I know. But Treasurer DeVal, this table is now correct. So this is the one to reference. So this is really how it breaks down. We're still spending the bulk of our funds, 76%, 66%, 76% we spend on district-wide programs and capital projects, 4% overhead costs, professional services 5%, and personnel, including board of managers, is 15% of the cost. So I think our breakdown is where it should be in terms of where our funds are allocated to. So if we look at operating costs, again, 26 budget year to 27 budget year, there's a change of about $80,000 to staff costs. We bumped up the board of manager expenses, one more meetings, but two, just to make sure everybody can go to everything that's out there. Facilities, that's just rent increase and utility increases. Professional services going down, having operations manager, I think, fully in place is going to help us there significantly. And a lot of the services Smith Partners had to be providing us the last few years, not necessarily needed anymore. So that's helpful. And then the rest of it kind of the same. General expenses is the catch-all for all those things, dues, et cetera. So district-wide, really the major change, no change from the last meeting, but the major change from year to year is that the 10-year management plan, doing it in-house, significant carryover, really we won't need to spend significantly on that. Cost share, we did put that up $75,000 to cover the cost of working with Eden Prairie. We'll have to do some reductions or adjustments elsewhere within that. No real other significant change. Community resilience drop, but that's because we'll have most of the scope done this year, and we'll just be finishing up the last three tasks within that scope.
What's in that, Terry?
I'm sorry?
What's in community resilience?
Oh, the community resilience, that is the flood risk mapping. That's all of the flood risk assessment mapping program. So we're finishing up Chanhassen, Shorewood, Deep Haven areas there. And
So
then,
that's the only thing we're doing with resilience?
we're right. No, there's a lot to resilience. This is what this is right now is, yes, finishing that model so we can identify our high risk areas so that we can start looking at mitigation for those things. We know where the issues are so we can start addressing them. So that's what this is for, is to finish that up, and then we'll move into phase 2 of it.
But so then if we're going to be mitigating, there's money elsewhere to do some of that.
I sure hope so. PCA used to have a nice pot of money. That is not as nice of a pot of money anymore, but we'll still look. There's out there. DNR has a flood fund that's available that looks at culverts and ditch sections, but I think we can probably apply for some of that. So yes, we'll start looking for ways to leverage this knowledge for grant funds that are available. Yes.
So you're talking just channeling water then, not
No, I'm talking those,
resilient landscapes.
no, I'm talking those are the pots of money that are available right now.
Okay.
Not what we would do. We can only apply for grants that exist, so.
No, I'm just trying to understand what's here.
Yep. So no, we don't even know, we won't know until we do phase two, what our mitigation is going to be, what will be the solutions for these. Eden Prairie, I talked to them again yesterday in that same conversation with Patrick. One of the things they're looking at is their storm sewer appropriately sized? So it'll be a larger meeting that we'll have to have with them to look at it and see what implications that have and what opportunities and risks come out of that. So we'll know more, I guess, is really what it boils down to once we have that district-wide modeling done. Any other questions on that? All right, Riley Creek is the bulk of our capital expenditures when we look at our three primary creek sheds. The Spring Road Conservation Project, this includes the architectural service, the bond debt service. So it was kind of a wash adding the architectural services in, because if the taxes fall out, architectural services is more, but it's not a full 75,000 being added to it. Rice Marsh Lake and Lake Phosphorus, that's done. We might want to do some sampling, coring out there in the future, but nothing planned right now. If we do, we can maybe look at just taking it out of the DC budget and doing it as part of that. Rice Marsh Lake 12A, that is the underground unit that was put into Rice Marsh Lake Park. The 6,500 that's in the budget for this is really to do maintenance of the vegetation establishment. We'll talk about the operations and maintenance. Well, I'll talk about it now. We did increase the operations and maintenance because one of the things we consistently heard from all members of the steering committee is they need help with maintenance of these things that we put in on their property. Oftentimes they lack just the technical knowledge to do it. So we will probably spend some of the operation maintenance towards the Rice Marsh Lake underground storage facility. I have corresponded with a contractor that's what they specialize in is the maintenance of these proprietary devices. So we'll work with them, meeting with Chanhassen next week. The subwatershed assessments, those are going on now. That's the whole lake management plans, the systems-based approach. And out of that will come, what used to be our UAAs that we did alone, our use sustainability assessments, are incorporated into this. So we'll still have the same data we have. It'll just be part of a larger, more robust systemic look at it. Left 2,500 just to finish up any loose ends on that.
Sure, I was going to make a comment about maintenance, about the watershed, or doing more maintenance on the projects. I think historically we've found that that's always been a weaker component of many projects. So it seems like it really makes a lot of sense that that's something that the watershed budget's for.
I would agree with that sentiment. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. Upper Riley Creek stabilization, talked about that briefly. That's moving along well, nearly 60% plan completion, positive meeting. So expect about 1.1 million I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong project. I got the two confused. Upper Riley Creek is completed. Plans are done. The funding that's carried over is just funding for starting the project this year that we did not do. And so it was just prior levied money. I did talk to the 1001 Park Road owner yesterday. He is signing the agreement, sending it over. So there's only one parcel remaining to get. I think we will cleave them out and move forward with a plan without that parcel in it. we'll describe it to the board in more detail of what that'll look like and what that'll mean, but the project will still be very effective. It still is nicely cordoned off by property ownership and road intersections and railroad tracks. And so I think it'll still work very well and more than meet the waste load allocation for Rice Marsh Lake, or for Lake Susan, excuse me. Any questions on that? Scott can also chime in since he's the one doing the design work. He probably has more information than I have. All right. St. Hubert's, this again is 2 more years of maintenance on the prairie before turning it fully over to the school. Leftovers, Lake Susan Inlake, alum treatment, and Lake Susan wetland, likely an alum treatment. These numbers based on the bids that we had this year and what we're seeing and the likely volume of that.
So at St. Hubert's, did they owe some money for something?
Yes, yep. St. Hubert still owes us 35,000. We had a lot of punch list items that were not addressed. They have now been addressed, so we wanted to get a full year of establishment of those punch list items, and then I'm going to.
So then that's deferring that payment 2 more years?
No. They'll pay at the end of this year. I'll invoice them yet this year. We wanted to get through the establishment period. Then Riley Creek culvert. So this is the one that increased significantly. The landowner is willing to donate the property to us. We met Scott and I and Mr. Welch and Scott Landsman, who Mr. Smith introduced you to in an email a few months ago or a month or 2 ago about their merger, to talk about what the agreement should look like. So they're working on that. We did got an extra E in that creek there. It's a long creek. We're working on that at the same time. We got plans from the city. We won't use those plans because those plans really were contingent upon everything happening at the same time. But it's a good starting point. Give us a good idea of what that cost will be. So
Question, Terry.
yes.
So is it just semantics when we're talking about carryover and estimated levy? Or for instance, Lake Susan wetland internal P control, are we really giving money back in the levy? Minus 15,000? Are we really refunding money to the?
No, we are not. It is semantic. So that minus 15,000 is just used to reduce the total levy. So another way of looking at it is we have $15,000 left over from the Lake Susan that we aren't using. So that can be put into reserves or used to reduce the amount needed to be levied.
No, and I realize this is a small amount, but is that something we have to deal with specifically from a budgeting point of view, from a legal, when we set up reserves to do various things?
I don't know that would be a fund transfer. If we were, the one thing I'm going to be talking about later will definitely call for a resolution, and that's to transfer funds out of one project and put them specifically into something else.
But in terms of looking at this, this is more of an internal document.
This is more meant to show, yeah, just where is the money coming from internally, so I can say, at the end of the day, what do we have left in the bank and what do we have committed out there to pay for, and how much
Okay.
that. Yep. With the Riley Creek culvert repair, though, I do think the culvert is in terrible condition. If it does fail, it would be not just annoying to the property owners that rely on that access, but it would be a significant amount of sediment going downstream. Shelby Sterner went out 2 weeks ago or a week ago, finished updated crass on it. It scores as high as any other region. The district scores very high, so I don't have it in front of me, and so I don't want to say the number and find out it's the wrong number. But I do know that it rose to the top. It became the highest scoring segment of Creek in there. So I think it does behoove us to move forward with it this year. Or 2027, excuse me. Purgatory Creek, the berm, that 150,000 has been in there for, I don't know, Dorothy, as long as you've been on the board, probably. So it does look like we're finally gonna spend it next year. So to your earlier question, Tom, this is an example. This $150,000 was originally in the operations and maintenance fund and was transferred over by resolution to be dedicated to this specifically.
And we did that at what point in the, say, in the budget year? Or was it prior to finalizing the budget or?
No, it was at a point during the budget year when it looked like we were ready to move forward, and then the cooperation fell apart. Not the cooperation fell apart. We couldn't get an agreement about who would be responsible for leading the project. So it got put on the back burner. So, but yes, it was done in the middle of a fiscal year. North Lotus Lake Stormwater Park, LL1, you might see it referred to as from time to time. This is the one that I was starting to talk about earlier. It's we're at 60% plans. The city of Chanhassen has given us some updated numbers of what they think their BMP would cost if they had to build it for the road. We have some questions about it. We don't completely agree with it. Scott is looking through it right now, and so we'll work through that. And that's why I said earlier, I hope to meet with the council sometime in August, but if we don't have the numbers to work with on the agreement, I don't know how productive it is, because the rest of the agreement we're fairly squared away on. There aren't really any major issues, so it's just this money portion. Any questions on Purgatory?
So what's going on with Duck Lake? We were
Yeah.
working a little bit with the Lake Association on some things, right? Or what, or not?
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing too much with Duck Lake right now. They have the Fin program out there. But yeah, we're pretty much done with things within the Duck Lake watershed between the bridge and the road project area and the rain gardens that were put in. So right now, we really don't have anything with Duck Lake.
Okay, so there's no ecological look at how healthy that is or what kind of vegetation there is or whatever.
Not really. I mean, we do our surveys that we would do on any lake, but we aren't doing we don't have anything specific programmed for that watershed. We're finishing up our other, so remember when we did the whole lake management, we started specifically with Mitchell and Red Rock, Lucy and Ann, because those are the ones we had a lot of data already for, and could move forward with them. And we knew we had partners on it. Upon completion of that, then we were going to work with the board of managers, show what came out of it and say, is this something we should continue to do throughout the entire watershed? And based on that, we move forward with the other lakes within the watershed. I think there are certain lakes we probably never really do this for. Neil, for instance, or what's the one I'm blanking on that's by the hotel that we never do. That's it. Idlewild, thank you. So I mean, so we would move forward in the future with additional lakes at the board's discretion. Anything else? Bluff Creek. Okay, so B5, that's the Upper Bluff Creek. That's the one at Gilpin going down to Highway 5. We're pushing it out to at least 28. And with our updated plan and our updated creek restoration action strategy and how that's going to look, it is quite conceivable, if not highly probable, that this reach would score lower compared to other reaches within it. So when I talk about scenarios later on, the one I'm going to recommend would be to take this $660,000, move it into the reserves, and then use it for reducing our levy needs and still keeping that half a year.
In some ways, you're sort of replacing the culvert project with it. I mean.
Yes, in many ways, yes.
Higher priority project for the funds that have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another way of looking at it. Yes, yes.
So where are we with the wetland restoration in terms of the health of that wetland?
On Pioneer, it's looking really good. We have not had to play. So we remember it has a modular weir in there, and we can adjust the height for the water level. We've not had to play with it at all in the last, not calendar year, the last 12 months. Going back into the middle of last summer. The last inspection, but Bar did was last fall, right, Scott? Was it this spring?
Correct. No, it was last fall.
Last fall, all the communities were doing well. We were seeing some cattails, some reed-canary grass, of course, coming in. I think we'll always be seeing that and have to fight that. But in general, we've seen really good establishment throughout. It's looking good. We have not heard. My larger concern was, were we going to hear from any of the neighbors that they felt their yards were more inundated or whatever? We've not had any of those complaints. So I think it was an extremely successful project all around.
Well, we excavated a bunch, right? So that we could try to protect it from other invasives coming in.
Well,
Originally.
Yeah, we didn't excavate too much because under the Army Corps of Engineers permit, you cannot, how's that work, Scott? You can't use bulldozers, you can't use a backhoe. I forgot which one it was.
You can't push dirt around. You can scoop it, load it, and take it out.
Yeah. So we did.
So we ended up excavating out maybe a foot of material over a portion of the wetland. Wasn't a significant excavation to get it to be able to restore the hydrology.
Okay, I was worrying more about the invasive stuff coming in.
Yeah.
And
that's where we're just going to have to really, it's, once we're done with this, I think we've had a 5-year maintenance, then I think we're really going to start looking to master water stewards, master gardeners, volunteer groups really start helping us out there. Because, the reason Peeper Pond, if anybody's ever gone and seen Peeper Pond restoration on the Arboretum property, the reason it worked is they had a lot of free undergraduate labor to go out there and do it all. So they were out there constantly for several years doing it. So.
No, I think that's a good strategy. We just don't want to ignore it. And
Right.
all of a sudden, there's a.
Right.
We're backtracking because we got a problem.
Yep, 100% agree. All right. Just a quick reminder of budget levies over the last 6 years. We really have kind of stuck in that 5% range, or less, throughout. So I think in general, this board has been very responsible with how they set their levy and not, not being overboard with it. Just some trends that we've been seeing over the last 4 years or so. Over the last 6 years. We're seeing it. Some of our baseline operating costs are increasing anywhere from 40 to 330%. In talking with the other watershed districts, it doesn't seem like this is out of line with what they're experiencing as well. So I think, when you compare what we've done here versus some of the other things that have been increasing the way they're increasing, I think the board, again, has done a really good job of being responsible with the money and not shooting for the moon. Staff costs, comparing 2021 to 2027, that's a 47% increase. But in 2021, we had 5 staff and now we have 11. So I think 47% increase in budget and a 110% increase in staffing. Pretty good. Okay.
So I take it, Terry, that the increase in membership is basically we've committed to increasing with Minnesota watersheds.
Yep, it's Minnesota Watersheds. It's Minnesota Stormwater Coalition, and we are also members of the League of Minnesota Cities, as well as insured by them. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nope, that's all good. All right.
Okay, so the way these tables are laid out, the any number in reserve balance that's highlighted in green is at or exceeds 50% of our annual operating cost. So half of our year's needs. So under this levy, doing nothing except for drawing out of our reserves. And so to try and bring our levy down to 26.542%, this is the amount we would have to draw from reserves. This is the reserve balance we would have. So we could conceivably have a 4% levy, 3.8 million left in reserves, and that's it. And then we're done. But that doesn't leave us. I'm trying to remember what. Well, if it's go back here. Sorry to go really fast. Hope I didn't get everyone vertigo. So we need roughly what, 43.85 in reserves to get half of that budget. So giving you all vertigo again. Oh, I guess I've got this. There's our half budget. Look, I got all sorts of animation going on there I didn't need. I think I stole another slide. So in this case, in order to leave excess of 43.85 in reserve, we'd have to have a 20% levy increase. I would discourage that. I don't think anybody else would want to do that. So moving on to what if we just looked at, are there little things that we can reduce? And there were a number of things, and they're in that report. There's a table in the report of things we could kind of take 50,000 out of here, 15,000 out of there. We can come up with about $203,000 in budget reduction, which brings us down to needing a 10% levy increase to still have a reserve balance. And the reason this is less than 43.85 is because now our budget is less than, so we just don't need as much to get to half. The third option, it's 42.83. I guess I should just have done this right away. So that's just a reminder that our reserves at the end of the year, assuming that projections continue out, be about $6.6 million. And half year budget on this scenario is 4.3 million. So let's light everything up. All right. So the third scenario, and this is, I won't bury the lead, this is the one I would recommend, would be to take that $660,000 that remains in the Upper Bluff Creek, move it into reserves, or as Manager Nelson said, we could transfer it over to just directly to the culvert and use that to reduce. Either way, it would be reducing the levy need. And then this would be a 4%. We could take 2.1, 2.2 from reserves, have 4.5 million left in reserves, and fund everything else we've got. I should have pointed this out earlier in our June meeting. This line here, surplus, was actually a surplus of, I forget what it was, but roughly $100,000, $105,000. Taking the truck and the updated numbers, it's now a deficit of about 200,000, but all the numbers are based off of that. And then the fourth scenario I looked at was, what if we combine the $203,000 reduction and the transfer? And again, every scenario is on the table. In both of these, every scenario is on the table. You go down to a 2% levy and still have at least half of your reserve in balance. So I'm just going to put them all right next to each other with a 4%. This is all just a 4% levy. What would the numbers look like? The transfer is going to remain consistent because a 4% levy amount will always be 4.423. It's based on last year's numbers. So reserve balance, and really that's what it boils down to, is what reserve balance are you comfortable with and would you like? Or are you comfortable with 4% and would you like to move down to a 2% levy increase? Or would you rather move up to a 5% levy increase? In which case there would be a little more left in reserve. So I will leave this here for you to look at those numbers and then ask questions that you might have. But my recommendation, and I'll go back to that table for it, but my recommendation is set the budget at 8.77 million, transfer the 660,000, allocate 2.2 million from reserves, increase the levy by 4.4% to 4.4 million, leave a reserve fund balance of 4.5 million.
Managers, do you have an opinion? Do you have questions?
Yes, I'd like to see us raise it to 5%, the levy, just because we want to have the funds to do what we need to do for the Spring Road headquarters and all everything. So,
Well, and also in case something happens, you know, it's like to have a little extra cushion is not bad. I would agree that I think 5% looks reasonable.
and we were really cautious last year, so it's not like we've been, asking for a lot. So,
Last year we were roughly zero. We were almost flat.
Yeah.
26 from 25.
Manager Duval, what's your thought?
I'm taking the 5% number as well. Just again, kind of following what's going on with other governmental units. Many have been in between the 5 and 10% range. And so I think with Hennepin County last year, and I'm not sure about this year, I think we brought down their increase by our increase. So I think the inflationary pressure is not going to go away. And the difference between 1% either way of, say, of 5% is 50,000 in our budget. I mean, I think psychologically to keep it at 5 makes sense to me.
Also, and that's going to come with bidding. Any of these projects that we still need to bid, they could come in much higher than we anticipate. So, like I said, having a cushion is not a bad thing.
President Pedersen, managers, if I may, there's one other tidbit that might be important to be considering in this whole discussion, and Manager Crafton might be able to speak to it better than I will, but I don't know if anybody gets the Bowser emails, the notifications, and they just sent out their notification about how they awarded 18 grants this year, totaling 1.8 million, I want to say it was, which is about 10% of what it had been in, well, okay, no, not that, but it had been closer to 20 million in
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I would go with more the recommendation of 4%. I'd like to see that we do it based on our needs, our budget, what staff we have, how many projects we can manage. The architectural services for Spring Road, I think is premature. I don't know that we know what we want. So I feel like there's room for reduction there. So as far as a tax levy, it's supposed to be for the work we need to do next year, not what might happen. And we've got good numbers. So I'm having a hard time seeing the justification for a lot more. I support moving the money to higher priority projects. That seems like a really good use of resources and other things that are going on with our partners. But just to have a buffer feels like not founded in enough information. And if administrator believes we can get our work done and everything that's in there with 4%, then I think that's what's justified by the information that's been provided to us.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Okay, there you go.
So I am on the 5% bandwagon, and I believe after having looked at how my own business is going and where I'm seeing potential for cost increases for just about everything that I deal with, including labor, as getting labor is very difficult these days. I think having an extra percent in there at 50 grand, that's going to help protect us against maybe some of these projects being bid much higher than we thought they would be. I think what's going to happen is we're going to send them out and we're going to be in shock when we get things back. So
Yeah, I think so too.
I truly believe 5% is where we should go. So after having kind of just done this little poll here, looks like 5% may be the majority number. We've got 4 of us for 5%, 1 for 4%. What else do you need us to do?
And did we want to discuss having any budget reductions, or you want to do everything?
So that's the other thing I would like to know. Thank you, Manager Nelson. Would you like, of those 4 scenarios, if we did, well, let's just go down here to this one. So if we did 5%, that's not going to do any good. But if we did no reductions anywhere, 5% would not get us. So I think we can safely eliminate the first 2 scenarios.
Right.
Would the managers
Yes.
agree?
Right. I would agree.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So that leaves us with, do you want to fund the 8.7 fully and just do the $660,000 transfer, 5%, that would leave you about $4.6 million in reserve, or reduce the budget by $203,000, do 5%, and that would leave you about $4.8 million in reserve. But that reduction in the budget would be those things that were talked about, the reduction in services that we are providing. Reduce cost share, it would be a little bit less for data collection, it would be a little bit less, really kind of just stole a little bit from everything and kind of clean them out. And it would be the $75,000 taken out of the spring roll.
I'd say for reductions, that was the only one to me that feels premature, that we haven't discussed that we have time next year to discuss what we want to do and put it in the 2028 budget. If you got the restoration going on, you've got a whole bunch of projects to manage. It's another project to manage.
That's a very fair point. It does not have to be all 203,000. It could just be the 75,000 or some other combination.
Some of them are work that's already in process. It's like, it feels like cutting things that we've already started is not necessarily the best place, like efficiency wise.
Right.
Well, I think, the additional well, yeah. And like you said, the early response for AIS, it doesn't seem to be working. So getting rid of that isn't that big of a deal. I still think that we should keep something for the Spring Road site. It might not be a full set of plans, but we should, have some funding for meeting, discussing what we want to see there, kind of coming up with some ideas and concepts. Not necessarily like on a plan sheet, but at least, especially in the last half of the year, have some discussion about what we want to see there so that we can then be ready in 2028 to look at plan sets.
So I don't think, Leslie, that we are seeing this different. it's committed to retaining an architect part. I believe we have funding for acquisition and what we're going to do in the plans. The rest, we have a fund for working on Spring Grove.
We have funding for all of the restoration work. We have funding for the debt service.
Funding for the conversations that Leslie's talking about or not?
But I mean, hiring someone to come in and work with us that knows what they're talking about. I mean, as far as architecture, sizes, placement, what is going to be entailed in the design.
We're talking about the building at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think,
mean, I don't want to just completely cut it out, is what I'm saying. I could say taking 50,000 off the top just so that we have some money to hire someone to get started in the later part of the year.
President Pedersen, managers, I cannot necessarily speak for the architectural firms that I've already had meetings with, but all of them have indicated a willingness to work with the board to help, formulate what they want. That was always as part of one element of a concept design. So I guess I would look to consultant in the audience that maybe has done a campus type review for an organization and help them. And is that something that could stand alone, or is that something that, the drawing of the renderings or bubble maps, et cetera, would be necessary as part of it? And that person in the audience would be Scott. I don't know if you have any thoughts for me, Scott. I didn't see you unmuting, so maybe he doesn't know.
I think it's feasible to come up with conceptual, schematic plan views of, okay, there's going to be a building here. This is where the site layout gives you a sense of how much parking you might need, turnarounds, storage buildings, and then go to that next step after you've got some type of a feasibility concept of the site layout to an architect and go, okay, help us design this building. Here's our, energy efficiency, blah, blah, blah. Just my thoughts.
Yes. And I know you don't want to go too deep, because if you try and separate them, the person that makes the concept design is not going to want to share it with the next person. They're going to make it, they tend to be a little close to the
Possessive
chest.
there.
with them.
So
Yeah.
I guess I want to hear too what we feel the needs are in terms of educating or any kind of cultural assets we wanted to incorporate into this, how it's going to function to serve us in the long term,
Yeah.
to make us an effective watershed district. I guess that's the question I want to see answered too. And I think that staff needs to give us some ideas on that.
So, yeah, this is a manager decision. If you remember the budget I brought to you in June, I did not fund architectural services. I do think there are ways to do it if what we want to do is more of a planning charrette type exercise and say, managers, what are the 11 elements you want to see out of here? Or what are the 10 audiences you want to serve, and really think that through. I think that could be done under a pretty small professional services scope.
And maybe I'm behind on this conversation because it sounds like we're building this, we're going ahead. It's like, what's our feasibility, our budget? How can we levy for this? It's like, I don't feel like we've had that conversation about a plan for making this happen versus we want to talk about what we want this building to look like. I feel like we're ahead of ourselves.
Okay, so, and this is my fault. So,
Yeah.
when Allianz, not the insurance company and not the other engineering firm, they got two I's in their name. When they came in and with their first proposal that they gave to me, it was a $340,000, I want to say, and that was to bring it through to not necessarily have construction documents, but to have like 30% plans that you could work to. And so they have said, we could take you through a concept design, and that would be working with your board, getting ideas, holding a couple of public meetings, taking input, meeting with stakeholders, the city or whoever else, and get you renderings basically of here's what your facade would look like, here would be your footprint. So that's what that 75,000 is for. It's based on that to get us to really a sketch of how the campus would lay out and what are the elements that you want in the building, and what are the, do you want to turn around for buses to come in and go in and out. You know, do you want a large meeting space that the community can use? But it wouldn't be, here's what your building is, you know. It
So
wouldn't
would
be-
that help us better understand the cost
Yes.
of
Yeah.
building this better? So that then we could say, okay, this is what we need to build it?
Yes.
Okay, so having been involved in commercial development myself, I am just telling all of you, it is going to take much longer than you think.
Yep.
It
Oh,
will,
yes.
it will inevitably and the longer you put it off, the more it's going to cost.
Yes.
Things do not go down in cost. They're going to continue to go up with inflationary pressure. I would hope all of you would please consider funding this to get going on this project next year, not in 2 years or however many years before the restoration is done on the site itself. We got to start now, so we're ready.
I'm
I
completely,
mean, I think
yeah,
we
I
need to
I
know how much
concur
it's gonna-
deeply on that. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Leslie.
No, I think it's important that we know what we're facing quickly so that we can, before our next budget cycle, we can start looking at how we're going to budget, what we're going to levy for it, how many years do we want to plan this out over? Yeah, I agree, Dorothy. I think it's something we shouldn't put off. I like the idea of getting started on it.
Jill,
I'm
what do
in
you
a-
think?
I do too. I totally think we need to do this. I mean, we're doing $10,000 a month anyway for rent, so I just think the sooner we can kind of move this along, the better we are.
Tom,
I'm in agreement with that also, and I think one of the comments that Manager Crafton made was, we don't exactly know how this thing is going to play out. You know, we can't come up with a final design without having talked to a lot of different people. And one of the mechanisms you use to talk to people is to have some preliminary conceptual designs. It's a talking piece. And to me, again, in the scheme of things, this is going to be a major centerpiece going forward. And this doesn't feel like something we should just tuck off into the corner until we have to actually make a design choice. And then the other thing is, we as a board, we have spent so much money and so much time on this that has been wasted. This feels like it's a good use of money to be spending on this at this point.
thank you. I think at this point, it sounds like we're probably 4-1 on moving forward with the 75,000 and trying to get a basis of what we're going to do in a longer term. It's just a matter of how do we want to fund this? And our two options are, with the 5% increase, is we either move money from something that's been dedicated, or we decrease the budget, or some combination of those two things. Because I don't think one or the other is, it's got to be either this way or that way.
I think it comes out of the reserve. If we're going to balance, we're trying to balance it at 5%. This money comes out of our reserve fund, and that's what I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
what
option 3.
option 3 is what you go for too? Okay,
Yes.
Jill, what do you want to do?
I think taking it out of the reserve, I mean, it's good to have a reserve, but I feel like we're sitting on money that we need to be moving forward with and doing some really effective things. So I agree with what Tom said.
Clarify on that, taking out of the reserve and not transferring that 660,000, or transfer the 660 from the Upper Bluff Creek and then the remainder of the reserve. Because no matter what, we're taking it out of reserve. It's just how much you want to take out of reserve.
Well, I kind of like the idea of putting the money that's already was designated toward that culvert. I mean, if we're gonna need to do that, why don't we just shift it that way instead of having to?
And that's fine. It would, it'll be the same,
It's the same.
It's gonna
end.
come out the same anyway, it's just, yeah, where it's sitting.
So,
Perhaps it's optics would be the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the main reason is we're taking it from one capital expense to another dedicated capital expense. So, and my understanding is for half the budget is to deal with when the levies come in and our money comes in so we can operate. It's not to have a cushion for us to do
Right,
things.
because-
It's just so we can meet our obligations.
we don't,
the year.
it's July 1st before we
Right.
see our first.
Right,
payment.
so it's just like how we talk about that. It's not a cushion, it's our budget.
Yeah.
And.
It's being able to absorb the cost should the levy.
Okay, all the
Well, we-
managers agree that's how we do it.
5%, scenario 3.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
I can disagree with that, but I agree with how we're,
how we're gonna do it.
yes.
Okay.
I only have one last thing to mention in this. It's that tonight there is an item on here about budget. It is not to approve anything at all that we've talked about. It is only to call a public hearing for our August meeting to propose our budget levy. We will need to adopt our budget levy at that August 15th meeting or hold a special meeting prior to our September meeting, because our September meeting is after it's due.
So you will want to notice a proposed budget amount and a levy
Yes.
amount.
Yes, so
Now.
I will take this scenario. That will be what it was. We can change it on that day based on comments before we submit it. But yes, this will be what will be posted.
Okay.
I'd like to see us take action in August, if possible.
Okay, that is all I have on the budget and levy. Do we have food? We want to eat, and then Liz is going to, Dylan is going to dazzle you with his oratory skills and where we're at with the plans.
So should we come in? Should we come in to eat?
Yes, you should. We'll come back and Dylan can talk while we eat.
Is it possible for the camera to close up more the two managers
Yes, that would be great.
so that they can see each other more clearly?
Yes.
As we're talking about working on the development of a new location for our office, and it's 85 degrees in here with the fan on,
But we have one light that works.
what a
so-
motivation for us. And from what I understand, this is the second time this summer this has happened. The first time we called to get help on the AC, it took the company who was going to repair it 2 weeks. So staff had to be in whatever it was going to be for 2 weeks. So I'm all forward
Yeah.
with.
So tonight, we'll kind of be picking up with the introduction that Liz gave last month at the workshop. Just kind of an overview of where we're at with the 10-year plan update. I know Liz gave an overview of the mission and vision, as well as the goals and strategies. Tonight, we really just want to focus in on the mission and vision and hopefully leave this conversation with some kind of direction from all of you so that we can set the mission and vision aside and really get into the goals, strategies, and actions work to start really narrowing in on the actions that we want to include in the 10-year plan update.
Are the cameras turned on?
Yeah, because I can't see anything except DM in the circle.
That's
I
on.
can't see anything either.
You don't see anything
Can you see
shared right now?
that?
It looks like those Hollywood Squares TV show with
Yeah.
nobody in the squares.
I see a plan update process with some colorful
Yeah.
squares and a timeline.
I do as
Go
well.
change your view to speaker view. Gotta get, page.
Yeah, I don't know what else to check.
Settings. View.
Amy says, I can see Dylan's presentation.
Oh,
Thank you,
geez.
Amy.
Try.
Is there a different way to log on with a browser versus a web app or something like that that might change?
There is, I
I
mean,
just followed the link. I don't know.
yeah. And if you have the app, it's always easier, but
But you know what I mean.
browser should just open.
At the top of your screen, do you see an icon that says view?
It's just a,
Yeah.
When you click on that, you can choose gallery, speaker, focus on content. If you choose focus on content, that should make the slide the main view that you have.
Mine is grayed out. I can't
Okay, what
click on
about-
focus on content.
Oh,
What about
The virus program.
gallery?
Yeah, gallery is clicked.
Okay. Speaker, if you click on speaker, what happens then?
and then
Nothing.
somebody needs to talk, so you actually hear somebody talk. Yeah. 'Cause on speaker, it should just pick up whoever's talking, so it should make this camera the primary camera now.
There is something also called more options under view. You could try one of those.
Add shared display.
Add share display might.
I just, yeah, that doesn't do anything either.
I'm seeing the same thing.
But Jill, you see it, Amy sees it, Scott, do you see the presentation?
Try
Oh,
stuff.
now you,
I
nobody sees.
did see the presentation. It just went away.
Yeah, I just switched. Now we see the speaker. There it's
Amy's the
back.
speaker.
It's back.
Yeah. I would, yeah, maybe go to speaker view, to be honest.
Or go back out and come back in again.
Yeah, I already did that.
Oh, all
Hmm.
right, never mind.
Oh, now I'm stuck in this speaker view and I don't know how to get out of it.
If you just click on it again, it should uncheck, take you out of speaker view.
If your menu ribbon disappeared, just put your cursor up to the top of the screen and it should reappear again. Well, we can use this half-hour workshop of getting acclimated to Teams so that the meeting runs well.
yes, it's pretty important.
I don't think it is on our end. It's
I think it's user on the user end.
Since some of us can, I would think so.
yeah. I don't know what to do.
Is there an ultimate or an alternate way for you to be able to get to the link to get you
Try
to the
their phone.
presentation?
Other phone.
Yeah, do you like the tablet or do you have, because you might be able to pull it up on your tablet that way.
Make sure you mute everything on it, otherwise you'll.
Yeah, otherwise you'll have feedback.
Could we also like email this presentation to the managers that are having trouble and they
Could
can
we
follow
do that?
along?
Yes. Liz, could you email the presentation to,
Going here for the rest of
For the meeting. And then
was it on our, in the workshop? It should also be in the workshop.
I don't know.
folder.
Did you upload a PDF to it?
Did
No? Okay.
you could
I'll
come
take care
in.
of it. It'll be a couple minutes.
Or,
Well.
or
I mean, it's-
Leslie and Tom go into the packet folder online, click on the workshop presentation,
See, that's what I'm
and
doing.
at least follow along on that.
That's
Okay.
what I would.
And I'll do my best to say when I'm advancing the slide, if that's helpful.
Say, ding, turn
Well,
the
it's not
page.
really a slide, it's just a list.
Another
I'm just
participant in
looking.
the lobby.
I'm muted. It's me.
Well, it's you.
I was just trying to see if my mute will work because I want to
Yeah,
know.
I see it. I'm
Seems like a good time to test it. Because next month I'm going to be remote, so
Oh, there you go.
I want to see. Yeah. No, I don't see anything either.
You have to go to view and then go to speak. Pick one of the, yeah. Now pick.
Yeah, that doesn't do anything.
Anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay, go back down to
Leslie, Tom, were you able to open it in the folder?
gallery, see if that does anything. I'm not even getting any of the other people.
Mm-mm. I don't think they are either.
And where did you come in from? Did you come in from the agenda?
Teams there.
I
That's how
closed it out.
that's how I got
I-
in. I just went out to the website, clicked on the agenda, clicked on the whatever
The
was
link.
up there to open and Zoom.
I know.
Here I am.
I closed it out again and restarted it and came back just fine.
Okay,
Fine, okay.
So you're good. Okay, did you hear that, Leslie?
We tried that
I
already.
restarted, it didn't do anything.
Okay, so you're gonna click in from the alternate method, which is go to the website, go to the agenda on the website, and then click the link on the agenda from the website.
Okay, let me try that.
Oh, you're on, Dawn.
Yeah, but I couldn't see that. So that was going through Teams.
So Jill and Tom are good though?
See, I didn't go through Teams. I went
Yes.
through the link.
Well, I did go through the link,
Did you?
and that's what it opened up.
See what happens with Leslie.
Now I'm gonna try opening the app, see what that happens.
Leslie, I just emailed a PDF copy of the slides to you.
Not on. Shoot.
Wait,
All right,
she's
Jill.
coming.
Okay.
Here she's coming.
Sure.
One or more participants. She's up there.
Jill, who knew you were the most technologically sophisticated manager?
Okay, that worked.
That
Okay,
worked.
Something wrong with that
When I
picture.
joined using the Teams app,
Nothing.
the browser.
Sorry,
it
it didn't
wasn't
work.
the computer.
I don't know why, it must be my computer.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but when I
I'll
hit the
just
link
follow along.
and it says, do you want to join Teams? and
Leslie,
you
I
click the
emailed
browser, you can
the
do it using
PDF
the
of the
app.
slides
It
to
worked
you.
with The app, it didn't work.
Okay.
with the browser. So just as a troubleshooting,
Okay, Leslie, do you have this thing where you can get to it in some method or another?
I have the slides that
All right,
All right.
Liz sent. So
let's
Okay.
do this.
All right, let's do it.
So we're on the timeline slide and Dylan is going to begin.
Yes, I will pick up from the second slide. This timeline, I believe we showed to you last month as well, but this just again serves as a reminder of where we're at on this plan update process. So we are in the phase of the draft plan development. We're doing a needs assessment, reviewing other organizations' plans, and then we are working on developing our goals and strategies and identifying projects for the plan. So tonight, we really just want to hone in on the vision and mission and leave with a conclusion so that we can proceed with the next steps so that we can get into the goals.
This is slide 3 now.
Oh,
Leslie.
yes, slide 3, Leslie, sorry. I will get used to that eventually. So that we can eventually focus in on the goals, strategies, and actions to draft the plan chapters themselves. So this visual just serves as why we want to have the grounds of the vision and mission so that we can set those aside and move up the stairs.
So the mission and vision is really going to be important because we need the managers to all be in agreement that this is our mission. This is where we want to go because everything will filter out of that. So, and remember, well, Dylan will talk about what their purpose are.
Can you
for a
switch
sec.
back to what the mission and vision was real quick? You just had it up.
Yep, we're going to it
Yes.
now.
Yep, going to the next slide. So if for those of you that were on the board at the time, the current draft vision and mission, which we will go over, came out of some workshops that were held in January of 2025. And then coming out of those workshops, the draft vision was an ecologically rich landscape with a restored hydrologic cycle where people and nature exist in balance. And the draft mission statement was to protect, manage, and enhance/restore. I know there was some debate over which word to use there. Natural resources for ecosystem health and the benefit of all through collaboration for a sustainable future within a resilient watershed. We also have the picture of the board here that will come back in a later slide, but that just shows what the working values were for the board in that discussion and what words were really important to highlight to board members. So what is a vision?
Next slide.
Yes, next slide. I'll get there. Is A vision is an organization's envisioned future. This is really just what we want to be achieving with the work that we will do through the plan update. It's aspirational, values aligned, and concise and clear. So that is the draft vision that we had. I'll talk more on it, but we've had a lot of different discussions with the CAC and with staff, and people seem pretty satisfied with this vision, and they do seem to believe that it represents the work that we do at the district. And then what is a mission statement? So a mission statement is a forward-looking declaration of an organization's long-term aspirations. It should include the what, who, and why, and be clear and inspirational, but also realistic in its ambition. And then it should really just be succinct and memorable, which that's what we will get to, but the current draft is not succinct and memorable, in my opinion. So it really could just be something that can fit on the back of a business card. I will point out, for the managers that are in the room, you can look at the feather flags that we have in here. And if you're not in the room, maybe think on the feather flags that's up by the projector. We have protect, manage, restore printed on that. That's our current mission statement, and it serves as branding for a lot of things that our district does. So again, that's something that's short and snappy and can fit on the back of a business card. And then we just have some example mission statements there, but I believe we went over those at last month's workshop. So here is that draft mission again. It is to protect, manage, and enhance/restore natural resources for ecosystem health and the benefit of all through collaboration for a sustainable future within a resilient watershed. So this is where we'll have an activity. So I gave the two managers who are present in the room pieces of scrap paper, and then managers at home, if you have somewhere to write or type in just to jot down some things, that will be our activity. So I'm just going to give you about a minute to look over this mission statement, reread it a few times, and then we'll have a challenge for you. And Manager Stovering has an advantage because she did this with the CAC at their meeting.
No cheating in the audience. You guys have opened it up already.
Yeah, make sure Leslie goes to that next slide.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we came up there is it just was a little long.
And so, yeah, to that point.
A little too long, too complex.
Yep.
Hold on. Here we go.
And so now we're going to challenge you to just write down what you remember from that mission statement. So just whatever you took from rereading it those few times, try to remember it as best as possible. So I'll give you a bit to do that. All right, how did everyone do? Does anybody think that they got it?
Nailed it.
Go ahead.
No. No. To protect, manage, and enhance/restore.
That stuck out.
But then I sort of started parsing what I could do to change it, and I was not really reading it, listening to a resilient ecosystem for the benefit of all. There you go.
Which is great because now we do want to get to changing it. So we can move on to the next slide. So with this draft vision and draft mission, like I said, we have brought this to the CAC, and we've also brought it to staff and the steering committee as well. And we've gotten some feedback that brought us to a place where we can bring another draft to all of you. So the refined draft vision, we didn't change anything, which is great. People, like I said earlier, people were happy with how the vision looked. They felt that it did really represent the work that we do and what we want to accomplish over the next 10 years. But we did change the mission. So We felt that these were the most important words that I have highlighted here in yellow. Some staff members brought up how, like I said with the flag earlier, we do use so much branding around the three words protect, manage, and restore. And we do think that that still correctly emphasizes what we do as a district. And then we were really, folks gave good feedback on the word resilient. And then also we want to talk about an ecosystem as a whole. So we have to protect, manage, and restore a resilient ecosystem.
That's almost what I came up with.
So
Funny.
that is what we have as a draft. We'll move on to the next slide, and I'll have some more room for feedback for all of you. So here again is that whiteboard that is the picture of the whiteboard from the January 2025 workshops that managers had. And we just want to point out, in case there are any concerns of some of the values that managers wanted to focus on not being addressed specifically in the language of this refined draft mission, we just wanted to point out that in the draft goals, which there are 7 of them, and those are the 7 goals that we brought to the last month's board workshop. We do feel that all of these values are still addressed in the goals. And again, going back to what we believe that a mission statement should accomplish, it doesn't inherently need to be stated, but it can still have those goals fit under the mission statement. And then the same thing with rule updates. As we do get to our rule revision process, a strong regulatory program still does fit within the protect, manage, and restore a resilient ecosystem. So with that, like I said at the beginning, we're now on the discussion slide, Leslie. So like I said at the beginning, we want to hear a recommendation or some kind of direction from the managers if you feel satisfied with these draft vision and mission statements. But again, we're really just looking to set this work aside and feel good about a vision and mission statement, which I know staff feels good about this current iteration of the draft vision and mission statements. But we want to be able to check this off the list so that we can really get into the goals, strategies, and actions, which clearly point out all of the work that we will be doing in 10 years. So we'll just kind of turn it over to the 5 of you managers, and we just want to hear if you are good with these draft statements or if you have any feedback. We'll let you lead the discussion here.
I have one concern here under mission. It's not a resilient ecosystem.
Grammatically, it's a little
To
awkward.
restore.
Well,
the
It
resilient-
depends on where you are in the watershed, what what the system looks like. So you could
So-
almost drop that and say ecosystem, resilient ecosystems. Just-
and
If you're
restore-
talking lakes or you're talking creeks or you're talking woods or
Resilient
terms of
ecosystems, not
upland.
a, maybe that gets at it. Feels grammatically better because we're not doing every word to every item.
to restore resilient ecosystems.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that.
And that works. That was
Yes.
I like the shortness, I like where it gets,
I
but
like
it
that better.
grammatically was a problem.
All right, I have a question. What is the hydrologic cycle?
And that's that.
That's from her.
Is that
Yeah.
a channel with curbs and gutters and water running down the street, or what are you talking about?
That's certainly part, well, it's your vision. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that was your
I'm
word.
talking about a water cycle that actually functions because you've got everything else in place in terms of hydrology or ecosystem.
Then that's what it is.
Do you want,
So,
do you want the
so
word water instead of hydrologic? It's more accessible. Or does it just not work right?
I don't like it.
No,
Yeah, I like
hydrologic.
water. I like water cycle better because that's part of the whole problem with climate change is that we've disrupted the water cycle, the micro water cycle, which feeds into the macro, which is how the
Cools you
the
off.
planet is cooled off and functions.
This is the manager's vision.
I just want to make sure the using water cycle, by say for general public, the word water cycle is probably more,
So we have had a
Acceptable?
lot of discussions around this, and one of the
Yeah.
things that came out was
It's water.
potable water supply. This was a CAC, a large CAC deduction. Does that mean that we are looking at the drinking water supply, the sanitary sewer and things like that? So that was the concern with it, but
yeah.
but like everything else, the nuance can be brought out in our goals and our strategies and actions. So if the managers want to use water cycle, again, while we are bringing this to you for discussion, these are your missions and your vision.
So if I say hydrologic cycle to you as a environmental professional versus water cycle, how would you,
So
what that means to you?
So to me, the hydrologic cycle is all of it. It is, the water we use to irrigate, and then what happens to the fate of that afterwards. It's what happens with abstraction and evapotranspiration. It's what happens with through flow in the ground. Water cycle. I mean, you talk to any elementary student, and they know what the water cycle is. They'll use water cycle. So. I mean, I think it's a matter of semantics. I think as long as the managers and staff, we understand what you mean by it, the goals and strategies and actions will still ultimately support that.
Yeah.
Like for
I
instance,
just think hydrologic cycle is more encompassing. It's not as limited as just looking at water cycle.
I agree with Leslie. I think it's more inclusive of many things, not just kind of a strict idea of a child.
Yeah, I think if you talk water cycle, most people are going to think of rain and just rain, and it's just so much more than that.
Yeah.
And I would add to that, what people are going to see, what's going to be in the back of our business card is the mission.
It's a mission, right?
When we talk about what the public are most likely to see, they're going to, I just want to throw that in there. Not
Yes,
that they wouldn't see this, but that is what the more public presenting side is the missions.
yeah, this is your vision, long-term goal of it. If water makes more sense to you, great. If hydrologic cycle makes more sense to you, great. I think as long as we as an organization understand what we mean by it.
So I vote for hydrologic cycle. How about all of you? Tom?
I think it should be water cycle. The vision should be for more than just the board managers. If this is something that ever reaches the public, I think we lose a big chunk of the public with the use of hydrologic versus water. Water cycle is not just water running into the sewer system. Anyway, to me, simpler is better.
Okay. Leslie, what are you voting for?
Hydrologic cycle. I just, but that's my field is water, and I just feel water is too limiting.
Jill,
I think people can figure it out.
I like water.
you like water. So we have
And
two
I'm,
waters, one hydrologic. And
well, I would like to, I just looked
You
up
get
the
to-
definition, just because that helps me. Water cycle basically talks about the transformation from gas to liquid to this and how it moves. Hydrologic cycle is a movement, storage, and pattern of surface and groundwater on and under the
Yes.
earth. So I will stay with hydrologic because I think that's what we want.
I'm voting
There we go.
hydrologic. So I think it's 3 hydrologics and
It changed me.
2 waters.
That's really what we're getting.
So there.
Okay.
We have about 10 minutes. Anything else you need from us?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from managers is that you are all comfortable moving forward with this vision statement as is, and then this mission statement, but updating it to resilient ecosystems, plural, rather than a resilient ecosystem. Is that
I agree.
correct?
You agree?
See that?
Resilient ecosystems.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody agree with resilient ecosystems with an S on the end?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, that's it.
Right. Appreciate that feedback. We will move forward with that onto our next steps. So we,
Just say something.
yeah.
it's not not a legal thing.
Oh,
What?
no, it's not. I
Go
interrupted.
for it.
I think it's a beautiful mission statement, and it reflects a lot of the policy discussion and vision the board has. I think you're going to hear from some people that ecosystem implies much broader than your authority and jurisdiction. And maybe that means that you intend to partner with others to achieve the resilient ecosystem. But I just only comment that I think you should be prepared to respond to that. That's all.
Yeah, we've thought that through. We don't have an answer yet. I mean, we do, but it isn't synthesized yet into something that, but what we've talked about, and Manager Kraft's talked about a lot, is how plants, how soil, how all of that affects all of this, and microflora and fauna in the soil, et cetera. So
Again,
we'll have an answer. Oh, I know you get it. I understand.
Thank you, Louis.
All
Okay,
right.
do you have the answers you need to move forward?
I believe so, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, so with that, just a brief wrap-up slide here. We will likely be back at the next few months' workshops to just give more of an update on how the plan update process is going and get more feedback from all of you. We are also convening the TAC to discuss rule revisions and project prioritization, I
Project
believe.
prioritization will be what the TAC is meeting for at this time.
Right, so we will talk to that group about that and should have stuff to bring back to the board as well. We will also be engaging the CAC at the August meeting, and we also have started doing monthly staff workshops to get more feedback from all of the staff that work here. And then that will start informing the actual drafting of plan chapters, which we are starting to get into. So yeah, any other questions about this? Otherwise, that's all I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this, of course, I've always been thinking about this. In terms of ecosystems. So one of the things that Bloomington did when people came in, companies came in and they were doing housing developments, they made them set aside a certain amount of land for like community parks or playgrounds. And that was part of the deal. If they were gonna come in and develop a housing project, they had to set that land aside. So if you're looking for a balance to decrease the imperviousness and you want more infiltration and transpiration, what I was wondering was whether maybe to run it by Bloomington, I don't know where they would be on it, but does it make sense to ask that a certain percentage of land be allocated to ecosystem health? So you've got infiltration and trees and whatever.
So I'll take the first crack at it, and then I'll let Louis fill in with the other parts of it. So, or maybe he'll be satisfied with my answer. Well, we've talked about in here before, and this might not be what you're talking about. You might really be talking about something else. So bear with me as I talk through this all. So we cannot tell someone they can't put a house on this part of land. So we can't do a park dedication. We don't have that authority. We could work through either a regulatory program or a cost share program to incentivize that preservation of land. Then that would mean kind of moving away from that 1.1, 90, 60 and really looking at co-benefits that come out of it so that they're motivated more to set that land aside. And that's one of the reasons we want to do the groundwater surface water interaction, is to be able to look at how much benefit is coming out of these green spaces. I think we'll find that it's there, the justification to it. So the short answer is we can't tell them, set aside these, 12% of your land and put it into green space for us. But I think there are ways that we can incentivize that and then work with them to enhance that land to be better. I think another opportunity might be in CUP's conditional use permit, where the cities have conditions already for them, so they might ask for a density transfer, for instance. And then that land that they get in that density transfer, we could work with the cities to turn it into prairie restoration or something else. So I don't know if that quite gets at your question, Jill, but
Yeah, I think it has to come through rules and incentives.
okay.
That's what I'm thinking. The thing is, so we're looking at one tonight. Basically, you're sending water downstream. So we keep perpetuating the whole problem. That's what's driving me absolutely bonkers every time I have to vote on one of these things. We're not improving things. What's going on? So the other thing I was going to ask you is, can you send whatever the updated mids is? So evidently there were changes to mids.
Scott, how's bars mids coming along?
I saw someplace that there was a change in 2026 to mids.
We have about 4 minutes left before our regular meeting starts.
Scott, can you
Okay.
send that to her? Do you know what she's talking about? I have not been.
I am not familiar with an update that has been published yet. I know there's discussions about potential revisions to the MIDS model.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, that concludes our workshop. We have 4 minutes before we start with our regular board meeting. You gotta go. Now's the time.